Good evening, everyone. Welcome and happy homecoming week. Thank you for joining us for our second annual virtual Coaches Corner, sponsored by Lithia Auto Stores of Grand Forks and United Valley Bank. It is homecoming week, and even though it doesn't really feel like a real homecoming week because we are celebrating UND homecoming at home, we are still really excited to have everyone here joining us virtually tonight. Like I mentioned, Lithia Auto Stores is sponsoring tonight's event, as well as United Valley Bank. United Valley Bank is the sponsor for all homecoming week activities, and we are very thankful for the partnership and the relationship we have with Barry Hansen and his team at United Valley Bank. To start with, I would like to introduce Kyle Dobrowski. He is our Associate Athletic Director for External Operations at UND. And Kyle, can you believe it's October and we're already rolling and we're halfway through homecoming week?
Yeah, we're already through homecoming week, Val. It seems like we should be in the middle of a busy week with events and games and different things going on. Hall of Fame, 2 awards usually this week, but the great ones adjust, as our athletic director says. So we're certainly adjusting and excited to be with you all for the next hour.
Awesome. Well, we have a lot on the agenda. We have a lot of coaches that are eager to take the mic, and I think there might be something going on at 7 p.m. Nationally on TV. So we'll start right away, Kyle, and I'll have you introduce our first guest tonight.
All right, thanks so much, Val. Up next, he's a 2-time National FCS Athletic Director of the Year for his years and work at Eastern Washington University. We welcome North Dakota Athletics Director Bill Chaves. Bill, there's obviously a lot going on. We have local ordinances and things. We have county, we have state regulations. We're in regular communication with the NCAA. You are a part of the NCHC calls, Summit League calls, and the Missouri Valley Football Conference calls. There's information coming in from all angles. Simply, where are we right now?
Yeah, that's a loaded question, Kyle, and thank you to all the Champions Club members for everything that you do, and happy homecoming week from me as well. Happy virtual homecoming week. So Kyle, definitely a loaded question. I think so. I'm a distiller at heart, so let's distill this pretty quickly. The fall is now the spring, so that's let's start there, right? So everything that our fall teams normally do in the fall is going to be done in the spring, and all of the things they normally do in the spring are going to be done in the fall. So we flip-flop fall and spring. So that's I guess start with that, but then we're going to talk with winter sports, right? Because they're next on the docket. What's transpiring there? So about a week ago, the NCAA provided us some guidelines as far as testing on how to compete in the winter sports, and I'll use basketballs and hockey because they're deemed a high-risk sport during the COVID time at this point. So we know what the guidelines are, Kyle, at this point in time. We're kind of working through them to figure out the testing piece. At this point, it's to be testing 3 times while you start with competition, whether that's an antigen test or really any type of test. There's really no specific as far as exactly the type of test, but we've been doing PCR tests weekly with our student athletes since June. And so that will probably maintain, and we'll probably add in 2 antigen tests when we go forward. Now, when will we play? We've delayed in hockey, as many of you know. We will not start until right around Thanksgiving-ish. And the reason why that occurred is because we're joined at the hip this year with the sport of basketball. So if you think of basketballs, there's 1,200 Division I, II, and III universities in the NCAA, 1,200. I would say over 98% of them play the sport of basketball. And so it's important for us to make sure that we're dribbling a ball, so therefore we're playing all other sports as well. So that's probably the short answer to it at this point, Kyle. Lots of conversation, as you might imagine, in all the conferences we're in, especially the 2 conferences that are single sport conferences. So you can really dig deep on what some of the things are we can do to play. And then when you're talking about the Summit League, we're talking about multiple sports, but ultimately the next on the docket for us are the basketballs and hockey.
Yeah, a lot there for sure. So let's take let's go inside those conference meetings a little bit. Take us inside those conversations. What's happening? What's transpiring inside those meetings, inside those Zooms? I mean, you're not even in the same room like normal. You're all on different screens, and that's a challenge, an opportunity in and of itself. What are the conversations like in those conference rooms or in those Zoom rooms, and what are the priorities set forth from, I'll say, here until the winter sports start?
Yeah, so, I'll give you good news, bad news, right? We haven't been able to be together face to face, but we have also figured out a way to be with each other now weekly. And so I think we have connected in a way that we never would have before. So that's a positive for sure. But really what we're talking about right now, we've talked about the testing piece, then it becomes travel. So travel becomes, the next, I guess, thing we have to kind of figure out, which is then going to that will give us an idea of what our schedule will be based on what travel will be. So those are kind of the three things we're talking about. But what's really odd, Kyle, is so the pros are playing, right? Because they have protocols in place really on a daily basis from a testing standpoint. I'll say some high schools are playing. They have different protocols. We're in the middle. And so to have college athletics play, I've said this to our staff, and I'll say this to all of our awesome alums and supporters. We need to play. And we need to figure out how to play. So if anyone's hearing from me, Kyle, that's what I've been saying. We need to figure out how to do this thing called competition.
Yeah, testing, travel, and schedule. That seems to be the theme. Let's switch gears, just talk about running the department as a whole in these times. It's been a few months since we were together with this group. What has it been like directing a department and just the daily communication that things keep changing over and over with the new information that keeps coming across your desk and in your email inbox and distributing that to the different coaches in sports? Yeah,
probably I guess if I look back at the answer to my question the last time, it's probably going to be similar. Ultra communication, and you need to be malleable. And don't get too stuck on something, because at the end of the day, it may change. So, something I say tomorrow, right? Tomorrow we have an all-staff meeting from 9 to 10. My guess is by the afternoon, something that I said at 9 a.m. could be altered or pivoted. And we just have to be understanding that's the world we're living in right now. And I will say this is our university administration should be applauded for the efforts that they have made to make sure that this semester could go the way it has gone so far for our student body. And our faculty have been tremendous in providing instruction, both in person and remotely, some of them in a hybrid way. So, I sit on a number of calls, but I certainly also sit on with Dr. Armacost and the great leaders that we have on this campus. And I'm impressed every single day when I'm able to be with them and trying to figure out the care that we've had to keep this thing going during some interesting times. But I'll say this, glass half full. I'm an optimist. Is when we get out of this, we're going to have some things that we do now that we're going to continue to do. I guarantee you that. Now, having said that, it will never substitute the face-to-face. It'll never substitute, the rush we get in competition, right? And so at the end of the day, we've got to make sure that those things are all in play here in the near future.
If you have a question for Bill or any of our coaches tonight, you can hit up the Q&A or the chat, and Val will chime in with those questions as they come in. Bill, Val talked about the schedules. We know the Missouri Valley football schedule starts on February 20th. Let's talk a little bit about that schedule as we maybe wait for some other Q&As to come in from our audience tonight. Credit to the Alara Center for working with us through those dates that are obviously non-traditional in the spring to clear the decks and play football in there. So we're appreciative of that. What was that process like in setting the football schedule and working with the conference? And there was a lot of different moving pieces from 11 different member institutions of the Missouri Valley Football Conference.
Yeah, we needed to get what the NCAA was going to do in regards to the tournament, the playoffs, the FCS playoffs. Once we had that figured out, then you just go backwards, right, from there. And so, and I will say this, Patty Viverito, the commissioner of the MVFC, has done a tremendous job. She, again, weekly meetings with my counterparts, and I know she's had weekly meetings with the head coaches as well. And I think that ultra communicative piece is key during this time. And I'll say this, is everyone has the best interest of our student athletes in mind. We want them to participate in a way that's as safe as can be, for sure. And I know they want to play. And so we know that as well. And so I think one of the scheduling philosophies was, well, can we get to someone's dome first, right? On February 20th, can we get maybe not outside in Brookings right away? I mean, those were some of the things that we were talking about because, that could be a little challenging. And so, but I think the coaches were great. Hey, we have 4 home, 4 on the road, and you normally don't want to do more than 2 in a row either way, right? Home or away. But this year's just a special year. So, we had to disregard that for the good of the order.
So let's take it to the here and the now. There's a Division I council meeting happening, I think this week or maybe just in the last couple of days, or maybe next week. What are some of the hot topics that are being discussed literally right here, right now? We've read about a lot of them, but there's, I think, 40 different people on the group, and they're all trying to navigate what's going on with their conference, but also at the national level. There's a lot of different things happening. What's going on with that conversation with the Division I?
Yeah, I think the big one next week at this point, Kyle, is going to be about transfers. I think there's going to be conversation again. So right now, all of our sports, except for football, the basketballs, and hockey, have what's called a one-time transfer exception. So you actually can transfer and play right away. So it's 5 sports, including baseball, you have to sit out a year. And so those 5 sports, from what I'm understanding, I think are going to go with the other sports right now. And you are allowed to potentially transfer, not this academic year, but it would be next year. And you'd be eligible right away. One-time transfer exception. If you want to transfer a second time, which happens, you would have to sit out a year. Unless you graduated, then you can become a graduate transfer. So I probably could take up the rest of the hour on transfers if we wanted to, but I'll spare folks that pain.
Al, is there anything for Bill in the chat or the Q&A?
Yes, there sure is. Great questions. When we put out the Zoom, we allowed people to enter questions ahead of time. So we got quite a few questions answered ahead of time. So I'll start with just a couple. Bill covered quite a few of the questions I had from the pre-show. One of them that I thought was interesting was, with the lack of competition, how do you define success for UND athletics due to a COVID year?
That's a really good question. I would sure hope that it's not all about, I'll call it competition and wins and losses. I for sure about as competitive as it gets, and I always want to be 1 goal better or 1 point better. But there's bigger pictures that we need to always think through. And so today, to me, if we're taking care of our students, our student athletes in this case, and we're being really thoughtful and being great team players to the institution as we work through this, I think those are some of the things you're going to look at this point in time. We hope to be playing, right? I mean, at the end of the day, but one thing we know about 2020, we're not in control.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? How has COVID affected the budget for UND athletics?
So Chad Carthauser is our associate athletic director for finance, and I think we have maybe about 9 different budget models. And so I think we've just about explored every possibility. But one thing I can tell you is for sure, we're worried about the revenue streams that potentially could come in. Last year, during the fiscal year, when the NCAA basketball tournament did not play, we were hit pretty hard at that point. And so fortunately, we had a couple of decent years budgetarily, the previous couple of years. So we were able to take up that slack, if you will. Moving forward this year, there's certainly expenses, because we obviously are not, we have all of our scholarship expenses that our student athletes have. So I can't really answer that question today because I don't know how the revenues are going to play itself out. But if I told you I wasn't somewhat, I guess, concerned, worried, looking at it daily, I would say that that's not right. I mean, we are concerned, but we also are in a pretty good shape right now as far as what's transpired over the last several years. But I'll tell you what, it would be awesome if we could start playing games with fans in the seats.
Yeah, it was interesting. Just a little bit ago, I don't know if you saw it, Bill, Florida came out with their governor and decided that the state of Florida could put 85,000 people at a Miami Dolphins football game. So that just happened, and I think that was for the entire state, Florida, Florida State, UCF. Very interesting. We're a long ways from Florida, so I'm not trying to get anyone's hopes up on this call, but to hear that 85,000 people can sit elbow to elbow to watch the Dolphins in a couple of weeks, that's, I don't know. Do 85,000 people watch the Dolphins? I don't know. I haven't tuned into any Dolphin games lately, but I thought that was interesting. I digress. I'll go to the next one here. With the hockey season quickly approaching, we hear talk of a bubble. Is there truth to a bubble? And what can you share with this group about a bubble?
So I would say this, the definition of a bubble for me is what the NBA and the NHL did. And I would say anyone in college athletics would not be able to replicate that. So I would consider it more like pod scheduling to eliminate or reduce variables. Can you tell I've had this conversation before? So at the end of the day, it's all about reduction of variables. Have we had some of those discussions in our conferences? For sure. I mean, we're talking about a lot of different things. We're trying to figure out what scheduling model gives us the best chance to play games. And so at this point in time, nothing to announce here on this particular coach's corner, but there's a lot of conversation occurring, I would say, with all of our sports in that regard.
Sure. One last one that just came in, specific kind of to hockey, but I think I'll ask you this one and not put Coach Barry on the spot. If hockey does have a shortened season, how will postseason look different than it has in the past with North Dakota in line to host a regional down in Fargo?
That's an awesome question. The simple answer is everything is the same right now, as far as we know. Could something get altered or pivoted along the way? For sure. I would say more to come is the answer. And I'd say that, we still plan on hosting that regional at this point. That's the answer today. But as I like to say too, stay tuned.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Bill. We enjoy your leadership in these strange times that we're in. And we thanks for taking the time tonight to visit with us. I will flip it back to Kyle and he can introduce our next head coach.
Thank you.
Up next, coach of the 2016 Big Sky Champions, the 2016 Big Sky Coach of the Year, has guided North Dakota football to the playoffs 2 of the last 4 years. It's only one of 24 programs out of 125 nationally that can make that claim. Head coach Bubba Schweigert joins us. Coach, here we are on October 7th. We're 135 days from kickoff. We're in the middle of spring ball. What is going on with North Dakota football?
Well, thanks, Kyle, and thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We sure are excited. We have a season and a schedule, and the last 5 weeks were really good for us. We had a number of disruptions in our training throughout the summertime and for 5 weeks, we extended hours by the NCAA to 12 hours per week, which allowed us to do strength and conditioning how we normally would in our 8 hours per week. Plus we got on the practice field 2 days a week, which was really good for our team and our players. We just felt like it really helped all our guys, but especially the first year guys. We got a chance to go out and do walkthroughs and a lot of individual technique, which is fundamentals are so key. And we worked hard on that, and then just learning the offense and defense. And then we also did some special teams drills that we felt really helped our football team. And this past week, we started spring ball in the fall. We now are in the 20 hours per week portion of our season, which That 20 hours includes strength and conditioning, practice time, and meeting time. So what we are doing is practicing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're going to work out on Tuesdays and Saturdays, also do a workout, and fill in the rest of our 20 hours with meeting time and good video time. And that'll go on the next 5 weeks, and we end our fall ball on November 6th. You know, a number of schools in our league chose to start a little bit earlier with fall ball. We decided to wait because we wanted some continuous training, because we had all those disruptions in our training. We just felt it was best for us to get a good conditioning base before we start doing the football stuff. And we're looking forward to Friday, first day of full pads.
Talk about the schedule, February 20th, the season opener at the Alaris Center. We'll see you all there. What was your reaction to the spring 21 Missouri Valley Football Conference schedule?
Well, we were going to be excited about whatever schedule we were given. And we expected to be playing a lot of games early at home. We knew that was coming with an indoor facility. You know, our league has 4 indoor facilities. So, you know, here and in Fargo and Vermilion and Northern Iowa. And we figured the teams with indoor facilities are going to have a lot of home games early. And we're excited about it. You know, our homecoming opponent will be our first opponent, Missouri State, and they've chosen to play this fall some. So we've gotten a chance to review 2 of their games up to this point, and then they play not this Saturday, but the following Saturday. They have one more game in the fall, and we'll get a chance to study them, which is great for us because they have a new head coach, first-year head coach, and he's very good. He's coached at all levels. He was the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons and Arkansas and Louisville, and we're going to have to study them hard for that opener. And then South Dakota State comes to town, and they've been a top FCS opponent, and we're sure excited about playing them. And then we'll play the 3rd home game in a row on a Thursday night against South Dakota, and we're just really excited about it. And not just those home games, but going on the road to different places. And it's a good schedule. It'll be a challenging schedule, but to be at home early is going to be a lot of fun.
You mentioned we're in spring ball in October. I still can't get over that. But so far, what have you seen that you have liked from your team this spring or fall or whatever we're in right now?
Yeah, a lot of energy, really, really good energy. I thought we had really good focus in our 12 hours per week. We couldn't go full speed plays. That was one of the rules. You could go full speed when it was individual technique and that, but if you were doing anything that was giving an offense or a defensive look, it had to be at walkthrough pace. So we really encourage our guys to have great focus and use it as good learning time. And we were pleased with those sessions. We had 10 of those practices, and those can get a little bit stale, but we felt we spaced them out to try to get into training and then get on the field some, get into training, get on the field some. And then to get out there and actually practice this week has been a whole lot of fun. And it's always fun. It's the first time that we've worked with some of these guys on the field with some of our freshmen. And there's been a lot of energy, and we're looking forward to Friday. We're a morning practice team now, so we get on the field at about 7:05, and then we're off shortly after 9. And the HPC has been a great help to this type of setup, and it's going to be a great help to us as we get into our spring schedule when we're playing games too.
Al, over to you. Do we have anything in the Q&A for Coach Slager?
Yes, we do. We have a few questions in the Q&A, and then we have some that were given to us prior to when people registered. So I'll start with the first one. How has COVID affected your recruiting, your ability to go out and recruit?
Well, it's sure been different because we weren't allowed to go out in the spring, and the NCAA for football recruiting and all recruiting at Division I schools has been a dead period since COVID, which means no travel off campus and no prospects on campus. Now, they can come on campus at this time, but we can't have any contact with them. And the rules are pretty concise and strict at this point, what they are not going to allow when they're on your campus. So we've done a really good job. We have 14 commitments at this time, and we had a number of those people on campus before the virus hit in March. We had some junior days in February, and some of those guys we watched as juniors last fall and did a lot of that work in January and February, and that really helped us in this recruiting class. It's been different because it's been a lot of Zoom meetings, and we try to do it with position coaches doing one-on-one meetings with the prospect. We've done it with offensive staff, with the offensive prospects, and then the entire defensive staff. So it's been a lot of man hours, but Zoom has saved us. It's worked out okay, and we've had a lot of success with showing our campus and facilities and those types of things in the Zoom by sharing screens, and that's been pretty good. The big challenge, I think, in recruiting is going to be finishing the class, these last few guys, and then next year, because we didn't get to see any of these guys on campus and in camps going into their senior year and junior year, I mean, for the class of 2022. So that is going to be the real challenge. 2022, you get behind.
Sure. Oh, that makes sense. It's hard even to look that far ahead, but I know as a coach, you have to recruit to beat the guys that you have. And that must be a challenge. That new rule that was put into place where you can play a freshman up to 4 games before pulling a red shirt. What are your thoughts on that rule, Bubba? And will you utilize that again this season?
Well, we always are going to utilize it. I think it's really good for your team. I think it's a rule for safety because we have a bigger pool of athletes to choose from to play each and every week without losing a year of eligibility. For instance, Tommy Schuster played last year and he didn't lose a year of eligibility at quarterback. We had a number of other guys that we played on special teams or in a backup role when we had a few injuries at positions, where seasons before you might have had to play somebody who wasn't quite ready to come back from that injury. It's always you're going to err on the side of safety, but here it makes it more cut and dried because we have more people to choose from. Now the rule this spring is it doesn't count as a year of eligibility. So the 4-game rule won't even count as all, but I like it. It's a good rule. I like it that you don't have to play them all at the first 4 games or the last 4. You can put guys in and out of the lineup as you see fit. I think it's been a really good change and a good rule for college football.
Kind of on that opposite end of the spectrum, do you have any concern for any seniors that would be leaving before the spring semester begins? Or have you heard of any guys wanting to transfer to try to play? That probably would have happened if you would have had a transfer, but is there a fear of student athletes leaving you that you're not expecting prior to that February 20th?
Yeah, we've only had one senior that has decided not to play this spring, and he's done a great job. And in 4.5 years, he's going to have a master's degree in December. So he's decided to continue on with his life without football. But the rest of the guys are committed to coming back. We hardly had to discuss it. All the guys came in and said they're committed to play. And the big thing was when we decided there'd be a playoff. So you're playing for something other than just playing games to play games, and we know it's going to be tough. You're going to have to win a lot of games. And, with those home games early, we're going to have to get off to a great start. But our guys are committed to playing, and we're excited about that. And we feel we have some impact players in that senior class that we are looking forward to getting them out there this spring at the Alaris Center and seeing what we can do with them leading our football team.
Awesome. One Q&A just popped up there in the chat. We've heard that football has moved out of Memorial Stadium and over onto campus. So one of our Champions Club members is wondering how the move went, if you're all settled in on campus and enjoying your new home.
Yeah, we sure are. We're over in Starcher Hall now, and we love the tradition of Memorial Stadium, and a lot of great memories from there for a lot of people. That stadium is special. It just was tired. It was time to move on, and this is part of the transition that we're taking part in to get ready for HPC2. But Starcher Hall's been a good new home. I really appreciate our administration on campus working on that, and we did some work in there. It's really been a good new home. Now, unfortunately, we haven't been able to use it as much as we'd like with team meeting rooms and offensive meeting room and defensive meeting room because of the social distancing. And But once we get through this virus, it'll serve us well. For the first time, we have more space than we've ever had, and all our coaches have an office because we just outgrew the stadium when we went to Division I, and staff size increased, and it's been really good. There's a few technology things that we got to clean up yet in Starcher Hall to help us, and it's going to be a good temporary home for us, no question about that.
Last but not least, I saved the toughest question for the end. Match play, 18 holes, Bubba versus Coach Sather. Who wins?
Oh, my. Coach Sather wins in a landslide. I love golf, but I'm not very good at it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
That was an
wins.
anonymous question that came in on the registration. So I can about guess who, someone that has an office a couple doors down from me that might have coached football with you back in the day and coached at a previous institution with Coach Sather. I bet he was the one that submitted that one. But again, Bubba, thank you so much. We are so excited to have one of our teams with a solid schedule. February 20th, they'll be here before we know it. And we're lucky. We get to watch 3 football games in a row in the Alara Center, and it'll give us something to do on those cold Saturday afternoons. And then hopefully we'll have hockey or basketball or somewhere to run to Saturday night. So thank you again, Bubba. We loved having you, and best of luck with the rest of spring ball in the fall.
All right. Thanks, Val.
I'll turn it back over to Kyle to introduce our next head coach.
Next, she scored over 1,300 points in her North Dakota women's basketball career. She's the 29th player in program history to score over 1,000 points. She was an assistant on the 2014 Big Sky Championship team. We welcome head women's basketball coach Mallory Bernhardt in. Coach Bernhardt, what has changed since we were last together here a few months ago?
Well, quite a bit has changed. We have been able to be on the court a ton since July, or I think that was when we did this last. And our team is improved significantly. We're seeing every single day how this team's getting better. And in fact, we're like Bubba in football, we've now taken up the football model and been able to go to that 12-hour segment, which is something new to the basketball world, but it's been great. So we're getting 8 hours a week with our team. We're hitting hard the skill development stuff, those fundamentals, and of course installing all of our offense, defense, all those different pieces of the game. But it's been great. And then of course I hope people saw Michaela Wallace, our transfer. She was granted by the NCAA eligibility to play right away. So that was big time news for those that followed us in the past. Elena was our point guard, the last couple of years, and was awesome, brought that speed, brought great pace to our team, and ran the show. And we knew with her graduation, we needed somebody that can step in and do that. And we've seen that Kayla has that ability, and her ability to play right away is huge for our team.
That was right where I was going to go next, Coach. An interesting piece of social media content in relation to her finding out that she was granted eligibility. She was, for those who didn't see it, the team was standing there and she was reading a teleprompter, a prompt card, thinking that she was just going to be doing something for the athletic department from a promotional standpoint. And then the copy came across that I have learned now that I am eligible. What went into the planning of that? And tell us that story, because obviously it was a really unique opportunity to be able to present it that way to her.
Yeah, we decided we wanted to have a little fun with it, of course. I mean, that's big news, not only for her, but for the entire team. So we wanted to make it, a fun thing. Got our email from compliance, I think Friday night, decently late. And we had practice that Saturday morning, so it worked out well, and gave Coach Mo a call. He's our creative guy on staff. And, we kind of talked out some options, and we had said that we wanted to, we were doing a little thing for another alum that we were sending a message to. And so we felt that we could kind of slide this in as a way to maybe sneak something up on her, and just asked her before practice, hey, Kayla, being new to the team, would you mind saying something? And she said, sure. And she said, what is it? And I just told her, I said, yeah, just read the cards. It's fine. And, so she went in a little blind to what she was going to be reading. And for those that got to see the video, it was fun. You could tell she stopped about mid-sentence. So didn't actually get out fully that I'm now finding out that I'm eligible, but she figured it out pretty quickly, and her teammates, you obviously saw, for those that got to see it, how excited that not just she was, but everyone was.
From last year's team, you welcome back a strong, what's now sophomore class, what was freshman class. How is that group developing here in the offseason leading up to the start of the season?
We're seeing a lot of growth. And from those that, again, got to see that group a lot last year, I think Megan Xander is the one that came on really late at the year, and she hasn't missed a beat. She's someone that's significantly improved from the day she stepped into now. And of course, where she was at the end of the year, she was playing some of her best ball, and we're still seeing her do that. Casey Baravich is another one that, I mean, she was our 4th leading scorer, I believe, on the team, and showed that she can put the ball in the hole. She scored 3,000 in high school, and she certainly showed that she could do it at the college level too. Olivia Lane is another one that's been really, really impressive, especially this fall. And I'll be honest, there's not a kid that's in the gym more often than Olivia Lane right now. And that's the kind of thing a coach loves to see. That's a coach's dream, a kid that wants to come in and do that kind of work. So yeah, that sophomore class is continuing to improve. I'm sure I'm missing someone. Maggie Manson, another one of those kids that's just working incredibly hard. And, we're asking her to do something that maybe we didn't ask her to in the recruiting process. She didn't, we came in thinking she'd be kind of that off guard, with her ability to shoot. She is a no-brainer for that position, but she's such a good leader and understands what we're trying to do that we're asking her to play a little bit more point guard for us as well. So another kid that's really stepped up for us.
Now, what do we have in the Q&A for Coach Bernhardt?
Yes, thanks, Kyle. Those are all great questions. One of the Q&As that came in was kind of one that was for all the coaches. How has this COVID really affected your recruiting? We heard a little bit from Bubba, how it's affected recruiting. And now let's hear from a women's basketball standpoint, how this has changed the game for recruiting for you and your staff. There's a guy on Mal's staff, Coach Mo. He's the man. He is the king of recruiting. Like, I've never seen a guy grind more than Coach Mo, and I hope he's watching. I better get some brownie points for this. How do you keep Mo in his desk when you can't let him travel and recruit his hat off?
Oh, I think he's going crazy. He's got a pretty awesome car that he wants to put some miles on, I can tell you that. But no, the recruiting has definitely been done in a much different manner. Bubba alluded to it, and the Zoom stuff, we are on that like crazy. And between our athletics department, marketing, putting together some awesome pages for us, some pictures, and then Emily Evers has made a great little Spark page that we present to our recruits doing a virtual visit, and then we give the mic to Coach Mo, which never stops. No one stops talking then. But no, we've had to really change how we do things, and it's unique, it's different. And I know Bill kind of alluded to it. There's things that we will continue to do after this. And I do see that virtual visit being one of them. There's, players that are beyond maybe their ability to drive to Grand Forks, especially in the middle of the winter. And we want to be able to show them our great university and what we have to offer. This is something that we'll probably use for a long time. Now, I can't wait to be able to get back on the road. There's a lot of players that I haven't been able to see in person and watched a lot of video. And that's great, but I can't wait to be able to go out and watch some of these young players live and really see, the speed and all the different things that you can try and see on film, but just aren't quite getting maybe the look that we'd like to get.
On that same note of recruiting, you will lose 3 seniors after this year: Michaela Ranke, Melissa Leet, and Julia Fleece. Do you have 3 scholarship offers out to replace those players that you're losing?
I don't know how much Kara's going to let me say on recruiting, but we do have commitments for that 21 class. Yes. And yes, one has been there for quite a while. And then 2 are actually since this coaching change and being in this position. So we're really happy with what we have coming in, and for the sake of not getting in trouble, I don't know how much further I should go with that.
Sure. So yeah, you have 3 great players leaving and you have 3 new ones coming in to fill those roles. And hopefully you have another player with Melissa Leet's size and shooting ability to come in. That seems like a super easy thing to recruit. Someone who's 6'6", 6'7", and can shoot the ball from 3. That's easy, right, Mel?
Absolutely.
Last but not least, we have a couple here in the chat. Let's see here. Oh, this is a good one. Have you been able to get Maggie Manson's dad in a UND sweatshirt or even a t-shirt yet?
I think we have. I know I have a picture of it somewhere. So Ross is a good sport. He's all UND women's basketball, and we'll get him all UND in some way. But no, of course, I know I've seen him at games in a UND shirt.
Yeah, I met Ross at the Summit League tournament at one of our pregame events that we had, and he was proudly supporting UND Fighting Hawk shirt. And
Absolutely.
Even after our first round game that didn't go the way that we really wanted it to, I had a nice talk with him on the way out about the upside of the team and where he's a basketball guy, right? So he knows. So we had a good basketball conversation on where this team can go and the skill that they have, and still proud that his daughter chose UND. And I was proud she chose UND because she's a talented freshman that has a ton of room to grow. Let me check one more time. Oh, the next one here is just a little bit early. It looks like it's just an early question for Brad. I'm not going to make you answer any Big Ten hockey questions there, Mal.
I'm not sure I'd be great at answering that, so I'll leave that one to Brad.
Oh, live TV, you can't always control everything that happens. But Mallory, thank you so much for joining us. We're happy to have you tonight, and we'll let you go off the hot seat. I'm sure Lou's waiting for you at home. So
yes. Happy homecoming to everyone. Wish we could be with you guys in person, but we'll get there eventually.
Sounds great. Thank you, Mal. I'll turn it back over to Kyle to introduce our next head coach.
He's entering his second season as our head men's basketball coach, took the team to the Summit League Tournament Championship game a year ago and won at Nebraska, which we talked about last time. Head men's basketball coach Paul Sater comes on with us. Coach, how's workouts been going so far?
A little bit like what Mal said, these last 7 weeks have been awesome. Really, ever since school started getting going, we've knock on wood, we've been able to get this thing going with our 8 hours, and then we just transitioned into 12 hours here a couple weeks ago. So it's fun. It was a crazy spring when you finish your season on a Tuesday. Yeah, you meet with your team on a Thursday. They go home for spring break, and literally you're not seeing face to face with guys until sometime in the summer. And we just didn't get that time in the summer. And a lot of new faces, a lot of new guys, new players that are going to need to come in and be impactful for us. So we really wanted that summertime, and we just didn't get much of it. And so these last 7 weeks, it's just been a lot of fun. It's been different. There's no question. We got a lot of challenges. All of us do from a student athlete and coaches and everything with campus. It's different, and I think we're all trying to just make the best out of everything. And boy, it's been a lot of fun getting on the floor with these guys, and these last 7 weeks. Kind of going without much problems.
You mentioned the returners. Let's talk about that group a little bit. How has that group of returners been progressing so far this year?
Well, really well. When you look at the guys that played significantly last year, you think mostly Phillip, who was an honorable mention all-conference guy. Deshawn Eikins is a guy that we put a lot on last year. He did a tremendous job. I think he ended up being the all-time leading scorer for a freshman in the history of UND. So, he did a lot for us as a freshman. And then we had some other guys. Brady Danielson got on the floor for us. Ethan got on the floor for us. Bentu got on the floor for us. Obviously Brady is a true freshman, got on the floor for us a lot. And we wanted to use that spring and summer to get on the floor with him a lot more. And so again, some of these guys that played these last 7 weeks have been really important. But, with Phillip and with Deshawn, those are two guys that have got a lot of minutes, a lot of experience, that have really showed that they're not just guys that can go out there and give us a little bit. They can come out and really perform like all conference type players. And so that's where you start with. You start with those two guys, and then everyone that's new and the returning guys all need to really kind of just keep working to get better. And that's what these last 7 weeks have been about improvement and we're not putting in a lot of things right now, all these magical plays. We're really piped in on skill development and just getting them back on the court, playing and moving their bodies the way they need to move. So it's been fun, no question.
On the other end of the spectrum, the newcomers, and you referenced those in your first answer. How has that group looked so far this year?
Yeah, newcomers, and we signed 3 freshmen early last year, and you talk about recruiting during COVID. Well, 2 of those 3 guys we signed actually came to our league camp the summer before, so it shows you how important. Coach Bubba talked about camps and getting kids on campus. That's a big deal, And so, like, we got 3 freshmen that we signed early, and it was Tyree Ihanacho is from Prior Lake, Andrew Bergen from Aberdeen, and then Nate Shockey from Chicago, York High School. Those were our 3 freshmen. And then the challenge came late in the spring when we couldn't bring people on campus and we had to do more online Zoom things like this. We were able to get, but we did have some, like, we did our work with some of these guys. A guy like Sabian Sims, our staff had gone out and seen him live. We had started recruiting him. Sabian's from Kirkwood Junior College. I mean, Sabian won a state championship in high school. He won a national championship at a junior college. He's 6'7", he can guard multiple positions. Been really excited about how well he's shooting the ball, and his motor just runs hot all the time. He and I think as he settles in a little bit more, where that effort can still stay really, really high, but he's got a little bit more feel of what we're trying to do. We're gonna love having him on the floor because he can guard a lot of positions, and at 6'7", his ability to shoot it, his ability to attack the glass are really going to pay off for us. The other transfer we got was Mitchell Suker. Mitchell graduated electrical engineer degree in 3 years. So he's got a little bit different level as a student than I ever did. He's actually coming here to get his master's in biomedical engineering. And Mitchell was the freshman of the year of his Division II conference, the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. He's about 6'9", 220, really skilled, can shoot it. We'll kind of fill that place that Keenan Walter left. He's probably got that ability to go inside, although Keenan was, for as slight as he was, he could still get in there and score. But Mitchell's got a little bit more weight to him, a little more inside game, but can also stretch it like Keenan did. So I think that's a guy that can step in for us right away. And he had an injury his freshman year there, so he played 2 years at South Dakota Mines. So we'll get him for 2 years. He's a graduate transfer with 2 years left. And then our other transfer is from Weber State, Caleb Nero. And listen, losing Marlon, losing Billy, and just the guards, that's a lot of experience to lose. And obviously Marlon led our league in scoring and assists, was a phenomenal player. Caleb's we don't need him to be Marlon. But really, as a freshman at Weber State, averaged right around 7 points a game. And he had some big games, 15, 18 points against like BYU, at Eastern Washington, Montana. Some of these schools he really scored well in as a true freshman. He's got that dynamic guard ability where, sometimes late clock as a coach, you're a lot better coach when you've got a guy that can maybe just go get you a bucket. And so when things are breaking down or late clock, he's a guy that can definitely get separation and make a play. Phenomenal high school career, percentages and those kind of things, and really been happy with the kind of young person Caleb is. That's where anytime you're taking transfers, there's a little bit of risk as far as fit, and because there's a reason maybe they're transferring, and we couldn't be happier with the kind of human beings that we have in Sabian, Caleb, and Mitchell as transfers. They're just really going to be great fits for us. So all these guys are gonna play. Tyree Ihanacho, 6'4", 200-pound point guard from Prior Lake, and he's gonna be a guy that gets a lot of time for us. That's kind of what we're anticipating. Nate Shockey, would like to maybe redshirt a guy like Andrew Bergen, but you just never know with COVID and how everything's going. You might need everybody on the roster to get in there. So I love it. We got a lot of work to do, and we're not anywhere where we need to be, but they've sure been a lot of fun to get on the floor with and compete, and just work with them.
Now, what's in the Q&A for Coach Sather?
We got a couple questions over here for you, Coach. One of them about Caleb Nero. How did he choose to transfer to North Dakota? Was there a connection with North Dakota when he left Weber, or how did you land a great fit like that for our program that will help to replace, to an extent, Marlon?
Great question. He decided early on, Weber State decided to go with a few. They had a couple high major transfers and guys that they put in front of him his second year. So he had decided that he was, he kind of decided throughout the year a little bit that maybe this just wasn't going to be the place. And so when he entered the portal, we just got on the phone. There was really no connection. I really felt like I established a really good relationship with Caleb. And I think he saw saw the need that we had at that guard position. I think he felt like if you're going to transfer somewhere, go where there's a need, go where there's an opportunity. We weren't looking to just flood that spot because we like these young guys we've also signed early. But we just needed some experience there as well. And he'll play both guard spots. He'll play some 1 and some 2. But he'll primarily be a lot of 2 for us. At least that's what we're thinking now in October. I mean, a lot of stuff changes, but he's got an ability to score, and I think he can score in bunches. Is he at 20 points a game? I don't know if we need him to be. I think we got good balance. A guy like Phillip and Deshawn have both scored right around 14 points a game, and I think Mitchell and Caleb can kind of add to that. And I think it's going to be fun to see some of these younger guys maybe step into roles as well. So no, getting Caleb. Sometimes you just get a little lucky and you connect really well. And we had to connect like this. We had to connect over the phone and on Zoom, and just comes from an awesome family. Just his sister played volleyball at Oral Roberts, and she helped us a little bit because she loved her time up at UND actually when they came up and played, because she's just a recent grad. So there's just some things that kind of fit for us. And like I said, after you spend 7 weeks with these guys, you really feel good about the new people we have coming in.
Awesome. In July, we talked a little bit about the fantastic non-conference schedule you had. So I know it's tough. You were so excited for all your non-conference opponents. You were excited for your home Division I games. You had some really good people on the schedule. How are you going about this weird fall where you're trying to have to find games and trying to figure out where you're going with your schedule? And we say an announcement will be coming out October 21st with more ticketing information, which kind of puts the basketballs in a tight spot, if you will. So what can you comment on schedule for those fans that are thirsting for a little more information?
Well, as Kyle knows, there's a lot of work that goes into this. Coach Stevens, Jamie Stevens, who does a lot of the scheduling, I'm going to say a lot, pretty much most of the scheduling, just did a fantastic job putting together, based on what our last year's non-conference schedule was to this year. We had a tremendous home non-conference slate, and we had some really good non-conference road games that we were excited about. Well, that's all kind of been turned upside down, and now we're literally in the middle of trying to schedule the rest of our non-conference here weeks before schedule starts. And this could be a common thing this year where there could be scheduling going up almost to the start of the season. And I mean that because there could be things that happen, things that fall through. There's just, if you follow anything on Twitter that has to do with scheduling and some of these college basketball analysts, I think you're reading and you're finding out that this is a very difficult thing to do right now. And we've got a few games already secured and some great regional games that we're excited about sharing. I don't know how much we'll have with home games in the non-conference, but we're sure hoping for some home games in the conference season. But I know this, every time we have, going from last year to this year, we keep pushing some of these non-conference home games to the future. So these next couple of years, let's get through this and let's get back to playing some non-conference games at home. But we should have some exciting games in the Betty soon.
Yeah, as long as we're playing hoops and you're playing somewhere and those games are able to be watched, if it's on TV or streamed online, or if it's Paul Ralston on the radio, I think we'll take it at this point. We're just ready for some games, and I know it's a lot of work. So that's a tough question. So thank you for your answer.
And, Bill got asked the question, what do you see is how do you judge the seasons this year? And I think a lot of it is just get out there and play games. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. I think we're seeing it with the Major League Baseball to a degree early on. I think we're seeing it with the NFL right now. Those are two other similar deals where they're not in bubbles. And without being in a bubble, it makes it very, very difficult to think that we're not going to have some kind of adversity with our season this year, whether it's us or whether it's an opponent. There's going to be some things we go through. So we'll just do the best we can.
That's awesome. And last but not least, if it's match play in 18 holes against you and Bubba, you heard me ask Bubba the same question. Are you going with the win? Are you going to pick yourself and say you're going to beat Bubba? You're going to give him a couple strokes.
I'd like to thank my friend TD for that. I like to say I've got 10 different golf shots and none of them are very good except one that goes down the middle. And I just don't get that one down the middle very often. I've seen Bubba swing. If it came to 18 holes, I might get him because he only likes to play about 11 or 12. But if we're playing 9 holes, he's got me, and I don't even know how close it is because I'm a little too wild out there. I swing for the fence too much, and sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. And when it's bad, it's an 8, it's a 9, it's something big. So I'm going to go with Bubba, but we can't gamble. And you guys are hearing Winston. Winston must be hungry. He wants his food, but no, I'd say Bubba for sure.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Coach. We love your backyard. We love your UND homecoming at home scenery there in the back. Beautiful day in Grand Forks. Thank you so much. And Winston, we'll get you some food here in a minute, but thank you so much, and have a great season. We'll be there regardless of where you're at. We'll be there.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes. Kyle, I'll turn it back over to you for our final head coach.
He's entering his 6th season as our head coach, led us to the national title in his first year leading our program. Head hockey coach Brad Berry joins us. Coach, it's been an action-packed last couple days for you. What have the last 24 hours been like for you in the head coach's seat?
It's been crazy here. We have this little thing called the Nhl Draft that happened in the last couple of days here, and it was outstanding. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming on the Zoom call or the webinar tonight to have everybody here to get caught up on UND athletics and what's going on. But the other part is thanking the UND staff at the athletic department and Jody Hodgson and the Ralph Engelstead Arena for hosting us for the Nhl Draft. Pretty obscure year as far as not being normal, you could call it. And we normally would go to Montreal, Quebec for the Nhl Draft this past summer, but since COVID hit, everything was virtual, including today's Nhl Draft and last night's. And it was a great experience. We had a total of 6 players drafted. There's only 3 I can comment on because they're with our group and have signed national letters of intent. But very excited about those young players and their families who got to be in Grand Forks and got hosted here. And it's an exciting time. So last 48 hours have been really exciting in the fact that it's the next step on these young players' careers. And now we turn the page and we get moving forward to our season ahead.
Talking about the season ahead, what have you liked that you have seen so far from this year's group out on the ice?
Oh, there's a commitment level that I haven't seen before. I've been a head coach here. I've been here for a long, long time as an assistant and head coach for the last 5. And we won a national championship, fortunate enough to do that. But I see a commitment level and an exuberance here right now of no other season. And, we had a commitment from some of our players from last year that had a chance to sign pro contracts, whether they were drafted, whether they were free agents. They made a commitment to come back to take care of some unfinished business, along with having some special talent coming in that just got drafted today in the NHL. It's a great group. They're hungry. They're motivated. We're fortunate enough to be on the ice with them on a daily basis in limited hours. And it's great to see. Now we just need a season. And I know Bill alluded to it a little bit about the pod possibility going forward. Hopefully that becomes a reality and we get cranking it up here in a matter of a few weeks.
Same question for you, Coach, that a couple others have answered, just about living in a COVID world. Obviously, this is supposed to be the start of the regular season this coming weekend. How have you navigated the last couple of months in this COVID environment that we've all been living in?
Well, it hasn't been easy, but I think the biggest thing is communication and, talking with your student athletes, talking with your staff, talking with the people around you and fully articulating, what you're thinking and what's going on around you. And I think that's been the biggest thing. And I truly believe that, UND is a special place. And, a lot of times that we recruit players that have excellent ability, skill-wise, but I think the other thing that they check the box is I don't think I know is they have outstanding character. And, when you go through great times, winning championships and the days are pretty easy. But when you go through a little bit of adversity, when you lose a game or two, or like this year when COVID hits, that's a little bit of adversity. You have to really make sure you dig into your character and do the right things on a daily basis. And that's what I got to give it to our student athletes in our group about. They're digging in right now and they believe and they're focused and they don't want to be any other place than at the University of North Dakota.
Al, over to you. what's in the Q&A for Coach Bear?
Sounds good. I got a couple questions here. Back to the draft last night. Not more of a comment. Diana Beaton, she's listening. Hello, Diana. She just said that sure was a classy production for draft day last night and today. Kudos to UND and the Ralph and everyone involved. We received great press from the commentators. Congrats all around. It was so fun to watch. And I know you said it already about Jody and his staff and David Holsky and their ability to put on a production, but man, did the University of North Dakota look good last night.
Well, you know what? Jody and his staff did a great job, but I got to commend Mitch Wignes, Cassie, Tyler from the UND Athletic Department. They were there. And you know what? Normally, it doesn't take this long for the draft. Especially day 2, they crank out the draft picks. It was a long, long time today to get it completed, and they were there from start to finish. So they did an outstanding job. And I just want to reiterate some of the 3 guys that I can comment about. Jake Sanderson went to the Ottawa Senators in the first round, 5th overall. Highest pick we've ever had here at North Dakota was Jonathan Taves, and I think he's running on year 16 of his NHL career. So you know what's ahead for Jake Sanderson. Tyler Clevin, highest North Dakota product ever drafted to the NHL, 2nd round, 44th overall. Just a great young man. By the way, those 2 guys got drafted by the Ottawa Senators. We had Shane Pinto, Jacob Bernard Docker the year before that. So we've had 4 Ottawa Senators in the last 3 years. So I think they believe in our culture. They're a team that needs to grow and build, and they're looking at us and they're taking our players, and I think that's a great compliment to our program. And finally, lastly, Mitchell Miller from Sylvania, Ohio, 4th round to the Arizona Coyotes, 111th overall. That was Arizona's first pick in the draft. Even though it was in the first round, it says a lot about being their first pick. So again, we're really excited about them. They're all 3 defensemen. They're all young guys, but they have special ability here, and we're glad they're part of our group here.
When we talked in July, Coach, you mentioned that you were kind of waiting for a couple Canadians to get across the border. Did you get your whole team here? And is everybody's cleared and through? Nobody had to sneak through the bushes or anything to get to the States?
Yeah, well, you know what? I think one tried. But everybody is here now. To make a long story short, everybody's here now, Val, and everybody's safe at UND. But, we do the 6-week training period, and, obviously you have to have your student visas and everything in order to come over. And we had Josh Rieger, who's a 4th-year player from us from Saskatchewan. I don't know if you could draw a picture of excellence, but he is in every shape, way, and form, because he's a 4.0 student. I think he's a triple major. He does everything right. So he gets to the border and for his summer training, and the guy won't let him through. And he said, nope, school, full-time school doesn't start till the end of August. You're going down there for summer school. You can wait a while. You don't have to come over the border. And he goes, well, you know what? All my other Canadian buddies got over, and they didn't think it was worthwhile for him doing it. So he ended up going back home, and he had to wait like 25 days before he came over. But if Josh Rieger can't get over the border, I don't know who can these days.
Geez, if that's how it goes, Colton Sanderson better not try to leave. He'll never make it back if Josh Rieger gets over there and gets stuck.
Yeah, Colton better stay down here for the goodness of himself here.
Oh, that's good. I got the mic, so Colton can't even rebuttal because I guess I'm the MC tonight. Another quick question that was submitted prior to tonight through the chat option. How have you adjusted your practices with the late start of the season? You can't take this as a typical year because your games are pushed back a little bit. So maybe the workload on the guys, or how you adjusted to the late start?
That's a great question. We usually go through a structure that gives us success. We get here in late August. We go through a 5-week period to culminate and build up to our first game against usually the University of Manitoba, and then go through our schedule. Well, that's come and gone. And now we have, a few more weeks before we play our first game. And, it's a balance. You want to try to get to the work, the conditioning, the side to prepare your team to the fullest, but you don't want to burn them out to get to the start line. We have to keep it fresh. We have to do a lot of team building. I think we got to be spontaneous in the way we do things. It might be a situation where we come into the locker room and just at the last minute, just change it up just a little bit as far as what we want to do. Just because it doesn't want to become humdrum, because if that happens, it's tough to keep the attention of these young student athletes, and we just got to keep changing and kind of adapting as we go here.
Sure. One other one that was submitted early, it's a little bit longer of a question, but I think it's a good one. This didn't so much happen at North Dakota, but how concerned are college hockey coaches across the country that high-level players will leave school before the season starts or during the season if they're afraid they won't get many games or if they won't be an NCAA tournament and the NHL is running. Is that a fear across the country?
Yeah, that is a huge fear. But I think when we talked earlier about communication and keeping these young men posted on what's going on, that's a big deal. And again, I think the words are one thing, but actions are another. And that means that we talk about playing games, and I got to thank Josh Fenton, the NCHC commissioner, Bill Chaves, RAD, he's on the NCHC committee. They're on daily Zoom calls trying to build a schedule going forward here, and it looks like it's going to happen. So it's one of those things where you just have to have belief, and you got to communicate. And the other part is faith, right? You got to have faith in knowing that it's going to come true, and all our players believe that it will come true and having a season. So we're hopeful it's going to be a few weeks, and once we get going, look out.
Last but not least, Gary had a question here in the Q&A, and he referenced that the Big Ten announced a November 13th start date for their men's hockey season. Do you have a crystal ball, and when do you think the NCHC will get some more information out about a start date or a bubble, or when, if there's a little carrot to leave our great Champions Club members and friends with, that all of us feel slighted? We lost our hockey playoff run last year, and everyone's just ready, Coach. Do you got any insight?
So I have some information, but this is what I can say to you. We came out with our league maybe a week or two ago saying we will not play games before November 20th. From November 20th on, that's what we were looking like for our season going forward here. So obviously the Big Ten came out with November 13th. I firmly believe it'll be in and around November 20th, and that's gospel truth.
That is awesome. I think that is a great answer and a great wrap up. I'm just going to check the Q&A one last time and see if I missed anything. I don't think so. Today was a great success, Coach. Thank you so much for joining us. I think you were the bookend on a great Champions Club event. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And thank you to Kyle for helping us host our second ever virtual Coaches Corner. Thank you to Lithia Auto Stores of Grand Forks and United Valley Bank. Remember, it's homecoming week, so go green for homecoming week. Last but not least, thank you so much to all of our great Champions Club members, fans, and supporters. Without you, student athlete scholarships aren't possible at UND, and you really make the difference for us. So thank you so much. Hopefully we won't have to do too many more Zoom events, because we'll get back to booster luncheons, which I miss getting lunch cooked for me on Fridays, hearing from our great coaches speak. And then we'll get to some games in person soon. More information on season tickets we plan to have out on that October 21st date. We did do the survey for our men's hockey fans, and we had some really, really, really great responses. And we've really taken those to heart, and we're trying to figure out the best plan that we can to get the most butts in the seats at the Ralph, the Betty, the Alaris, all of our ticketed sports. We're working hard for you, our fans, and we just thank you for your patience. For Kyle and myself, just want to say thank you so much for joining us. Go green for homecoming, and go Hawks.